Hello, today we're going to be discussing the quadratic formula and the discriminant. For this lesson, you will need your graphing calculator and something to write with. So if you don't have it, go ahead and press pause while you get your calculator out. For this lesson, we're going to be learning to use the quadratic formula to solve any quadratic equation. So sometimes it's easy to take the square root of both sides. Sometimes it's easy to just factor. This method will work for every single quadratic equation that we have. So the quadratic formula, some of us have seen before, some of us have not. It is given by this formula. So a couple things though. We're going to be using this to find the solutions of a quadratic equation that's in this form, ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So just like when we factored how one side had to equal 0 for the zero product property, everything has to be on one side in order for me to use this formula. So if the variable is x, then x will equal the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Some of you have heard some songs on this. You can probably YouTube 50 million. I know one school used Adele's Rolling in the Deep, and you can search that on YouTube as well if you want to hear that. So the only thing here is a cannot be equal to 0, and b squared minus 4ac, that means whatever number you get under this square root has to be greater than or equal to 0. Okay, so no negatives. You can't take the square root of a negative number yet. We will read this as x equals the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all divided by 2a. So let's get this started. Use a quadratic formula to solve the equation. So we have 2k squared minus 5k plus 2 equals 0. I don't know. The number started off with number 3, but that's obviously wrong because this is our first example. First thing that we're going to do when we're using the quadratic formula is to label. So a for this one is 2, the b is negative 5, and the c is equal to 2. From here, you're going to use the slide that's just above this and plug directly into the formula. So instead of x, the only difference here is that we have k is equal to, now we have that great big old fraction bar. Try not to write too big. So it says negative b, well for us my b is negative 5, plus or minus the square root of b squared, so negative 5 squared, minus 4a, which for us is 2, times c, which for us is 2 also, all divided by 2a. So my a was 2. Once you plug in, your next thing is to simplify. So a negative and a negative make that positive 5 plus or minus the square root of order of operations here. We're going to do negative 5 squared, which is 25, minus, we think, 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. All divided by, now 2 times 2 is 4. Let's simplify. So I have 5 plus or minus the square root. 25 minus 16 is 9, all over 4. Now, we can still simplify. The square root of 9 is 3 over 4. So all I did from here to here was said that the square root of 9 is 3. Okay, for this we're going to have two answers, one for when I add the 3 and one for when I subtract the 3. So I'm going to have 5 plus 3 over 4, just breaking this down to two separate equations, and then 5 minus 3 over 4. Let's simplify. 5 plus 3 is 8 over 4, which gives me 2 for one of my answers. Oh, not x, but it's a k. And then for the other one, 5 minus 3 is 2 over 4, which does not go in evenly, but I can reduce it to 1/2. So my answers are k is equal to 2 or 1/2. Okay, looking at number 2, which looked like a 4 just a minute ago, it looks a little bit different. And the difference that I'm seeing is that the right side or left side, no side, equals 0. So something's got to move. Easier to just move this 2 as we did when we were factoring. So I'm going to subtract 2 and subtract 2. So I have 5x squared minus 4x minus 2 is equal to 0. My next step and your next step is to label. My a is 5, my B is negative 4, and my C is negative 2. From here, beautiful people, do what we just did. Let's plug into our formula. So x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4a, which is 5, times c, which is negative 2. That quadratic formula, beautiful people, you are going to need to memorize that because it's going to come up again and again in your math life. Maybe not your real life, but in your math life, you'll see it. So negative times negative makes that positive 4 plus or minus the square root of negative 4 squared is 16, and then 4 times 5 is 20, and then 20 times 2 is 40. I do not have a calculator. What's the sign? Well, a negative times a positive would be negative times a negative, so that's going to be plus over 10. So I have 4 plus or minus the square root of 16 plus 40 is 56, and this is where, if you have not done so already, you're going to want to get your graphing calculators out. So you'll still have two answers, one for when you add and one for when you subtract. So 4 plus the square root of 56 over 10. Now here's what I want to do. I'm going to write out your calculator steps, and then I want you to actually do it on your calculator. So here's what I would do, all on one line. You can do it without doing this, and you just press equals and keep going, but this is a little bit easier. Use parentheses and do 4 plus the square root of 56. For some of the newer calculators, just to get out of the square root sign, you might have to hit the arrow to the right. So right here, just put the arrow to the right if you have to. And then put your parentheses, and then hit divided by 10. Then once you press enter, you should get 1.15 for x. Then for your other one, do the same thing. If you want, you can hit second enter, and then this whole equation comes back up again, or this one comes back up again, and then you can just change the plus to a minus, or just re-enter the whole thing just to get the practice. But either way, do this right now in your calculator, and then check to see if you get 0.35. Can this be done without a graphing calculator? Yes, but it'd be a little bit more difficult with a baby calculator for one. And then for two, if you were on a test situation and you didn't get to use a calculator, you could just leave it like this. If I didn't let you use a calculator and this was on a test, you would be able to leave it like this. But because you have a calculator, go for the decimals. Okay, let's do one more together, and then I'll let you fly solo for number 4. So first thing we did was label. So my A is 3, my B is negative 2, and my C is negative 4. From here, yet again, let's plug directly into that quadratic formula. So let's see if you remember it, because you have to flip your paper back, otherwise it's not an x, it's a z. Z is equal to negative b. So when I say negative b, I want you to actually plug it in. So negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared, that's your negative 2 squared, do as I'm saying, minus 4 times a, so you're writing 3, times c, which is negative 4, make that a little longer, all over 2a. And then we're going to simplify yet again. Oops. So a negative and negative make that positive 2 plus or minus the square root of 4 minus 3 times 4 times 4 gives us 48 all over 6, except this is a negative and a negative, so that's positive 48. So I have 2 plus or minus the square root of 52 over 6. Now again, two different answers, a positive one and a negative one. So for your positive one, you're going to enter this in your calculator. And then for the negative one, you're going to enter this into your calculator. And if you need help with the calculator, just come see me and I'll help you out with it. Because that could be the only thing that messes people up for this whole entire lesson. So Z is equal to, do some stuff on there. For this one, in parentheses, 2 plus square root 52 divided by 6, and that will give you 1.54. For this one, just put this in parentheses and then put divided by 6, and you will get negative 0.87. Now, number 6, I'm just going to make sure that you're okay for the setup. Subtract 2, negative 5x squared plus 7x minus 2 equals 0. If you do me a favor, press pause right now and then do the work, because I'm only going to show you my final answers. You can check your steps with my steps and see if you get the same thing. This one you should not use your calculator for. Press pause right now and unpause, I hope. Check your work with my work right here. I still put the B in parentheses just to make sure everything is okay. If you'd like to press pause yet again to just check your work with my work, if you didn't get 2 over 5 and 1, check make sure that you reduced both of these two, and then check to make sure that all your steps are correct. All right. Lastly, the discriminant. That's b squared minus 4ac. Discriminant discriminates. It tells you how many solutions that you will get. So if when you plug into b squared minus 4ac, not the entire quadratic formula, just this little portion of it, if you get a number that's greater than 0, so a positive number, then you know that there are 2 real solutions. And on a graph, that means that your graph would hit 2 times on the x-axis. If you get exactly 0, that means you would have exactly 1 real solution and your graph would hit 1 time. No solution means that it never hits. So it could be upside down instead, or it could be right side up, somewhere up here. Those are your 3 options. Now, remember, you only care about b squared minus 4ac, the part that's under the square root. So you will still label a is negative 3, b is negative 11, and c is 4. And you'll plug into b squared minus 4ac, just that part. So this is going to be negative 11 squared minus 4ac, which is 4. Then you'll simplify. 11 squared, negative 11 squared is 121. And then 4 times 3 times 4 is positive 48. And then I get, when I add these, 169. Now, this is a plus. It's a positive number, correct? Correct. So if it's positive, then you have 2 real solutions. Positive sign, 2 real solutions. Do the same thing for the next one. Your a is 1, b is negative 4, and your c is 4. And plug only into b squared minus 4ac. Negative 4 squared is 16 minus 16, and you get a 0 for that one. And when you get 0, you have 1 real solution. Okay, last one. Again, we label a is 1, b is negative 6, and c is 11. Go ahead and plug that into b squared minus 4ac and see what you get. Okay, if you did it correctly, you got negative 6 squared minus 4 times 1 times 11, so that's 36 minus 44 gives me negative 8, and because it's negative, there's no trick for this one. There's no real solution. And there you have it with the discriminant. One thing with these graphs, it doesn't have to be that way. It could be going this direction. The main thing here is that it only touches 1 time. And the main thing here would be that it only touches 2 times. Thank you kindly, and enjoy your day.